Guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video, welcome if you are new. Today we are starting a challenge and I do feel like this is a relatively achievable challenge, but I have quite a busy week, so we shall see. I'm going to try and read a book every single day for the whole week. I tend to read about 4 to 5 books a week anyway, so it's not like a massive jump from where I currently read, but it's still quite a jump. And like I say, I have quite a busy week. I've got a lot of meetings, a lot of big meetings, a couple of events in the evenings, so it's going to be tight, but I have all the faith. And I created a little TBR to start off with for this video, so just 5 books, so it will take us most of the week. And there seems to be an accidental theme. I've created a theme, a blue theme. So I'm going with the theme, the blue book theme. Anyway, so the 5 books I will likely pick from this TBR, but realistically I am going to read slightly. I've got Heartless by Elsie Silver, which I started this morning. So I've been sat in bed reading this book. This is the 2nd book in the Chestnut Springs, I think, series. This follows Cade Eaton, which is the brother from the 1st book. Then it follows Summers, who's the female main character from the 1st book, her best mate, who's coming in and working as a nanny with Cade. The two fall in love. You get the idea. It's got a child in it, and I'm not like usually the biggest fan of books with kids in, but actually so far he's actually really adorable, and it's adding a level of depth to this story that I feel like the 1st one missed. It's still very insta-lovey, it's still very lust-filled constantly, but I think because there's like a child involved, and the relationship between the child and his dad, and the child and, I forget what her name is, the main character in this book. Because of those 2 relationships, I actually think this book is better, which surprised me. But yeah, I'm currently about halfway through. I've been sat in bed reading this book, but this is today's read, obviously. And then the books I have for the rest of the week. So we've got Peter James' The Secret of Cold Hill, which is the 2nd book after The House of Cold Hill. This basically follows a haunted house. In the 1st book, you follow a family who buy a very, very old, large, slightly falling down house and start to do it up and then realise it's haunted. Yeah, I think this basically follows a similar story. We then have a book that's kind of like continuing a series but also starting a new duology, because it's a duology that follows a trilogy that I've already read. And this is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This follows the child, who I forget what the name is, Oak. Follows Oak from the 1st book. I thought, like, what is an easy book to read? Like, what is a book that you can just like absolutely breeze through? It's a Frida McFadden. And I haven't yet read the Housemaid trilogy. So I picked up the 1st trilogy book. No. I picked up the 1st book in the trilogy, which is The Housemaid. And I thought, like, if I need an easy, effortless, can breeze through it book. Last by no means least, I have my library book, which is In at the Deep End by Kate Davies. This, I get the impression, is quite raunchy. It's following a woman who, I don't know how old she is, but she hasn't had a male companion, shall we say, in 3 years, and I get the impression she's going out and finding some, shall we say. 5 very different books, but at the moment I'm reading Heartless. Today is Monday. It's currently 8:30, and like I said, I've been sat in bed reading this book. It's so easy to like breeze through. I read the 1st one on a flight from France to England, and I think that flight is what, like 90 minutes, if that, and I breezed through the whole book in that time. So I thought it was a really good book to start with. Like, it made me feel really like good about myself and just like breeze through it. And I also just find these books they're quite easy read. Yeah, it's just really, really sweet. So I am gonna keep reading this. I do have a work day today. I have a work week. I have a whole week of work. I work like a 9 to 5 job in London, so I don't have a huge amount of time, but I do have a long commute when I go to the office that I read on, and I do have lots of opportunity to read. So I'm sure I'll be fine, but yeah, at the moment I'm reading Heartless by Elsie Silver. So here's my thing about this book. I've just reached 272. I'm going to have to put this book down now to go to work. But there's something about the way Elsie Silver writes spice that's just, it feels so clunky. And I don't mind spice. I'm not like anti-spice. I don't really seek it out. Like if it's in a book, it's in a book. But it's so awkwardly graphic, and I don't know why, because there are other books that I read where it's not awkward at all. And like, I think it's because the amount of times she uses slightly unnecessarily graphic words rather than like the actions that they're physically doing. And like the way that the characters jump so quickly to those graphic thoughts and expressions is just a little bit cringy. So I still really enjoy the underlying storyline, especially, as I say, with the addition of the child, but the smut is just like, yeah, it's a little bit awkward, and it's not necessarily intense in the fact that they're having like long scenes that they're like describing, but the choices of words that she uses are quite strong. So yeah, I mean, if you don't like spicy reading, then don't read Elsie Silver, but there's something about the type of spice that she uses. I find it quite awkward. So yeah, I'm not loving it anymore. I think now, because they're like, you know, they're being spicy with each other, it's being said a lot more often, and it's therefore just like getting in the way a little bit. I kind of wish it wasn't there. I think it was on a 4-star, and I think it's now like dipping down to a 3.5. So we shall see. But I'm going to go to work now because it's 9:15, so I'm going to get ready for work, get my water, get myself set up, and I will continue this either at lunchtime or this evening. I don't want to ruin the ending too much to explain why there's a moment between the female main character and the son at the end of this book that got me like proper tearing up. It was so freaking cute. My favourite relationship in here is the relationship between Willa, who is the main character, and the child. Like, that is just the best relationship. I think the like actual love interest is like good enough. Like, I wasn't like obsessed with them as a couple. I wasn't against them as a couple, but the relationship between her and the son was just like absolute chef's kiss. So I still believe what I said earlier in the day, that I find the smut in Elsie Silver's books a little bit off-putting. So I think if I was to give it a physical rating, it'd be 3.75, but I do think I'm going to put it in Goodreads at a 4-star, just to like round it up and put it to the closest score. But yeah, I loved elements of the story. They were just like little bits that I would change if I was to rewrite it, but like I definitely preferred this one to the first one, like definitely. That book is now finished. It's only 6:30. Smashed a book out in a day. And I do think we're going to get ahead, because I feel like it's going to get quite busy in the middle of the week. So I'm going to go back to my TBR that I've picked out for this video. And I think I'm going to read the second Peter James book. So we're going to continue with another series. So this was book 2 in an interconnected series. And this is kind of book 2 in an interconnected series. Like, you probably should read it second, because otherwise it ruins the ending of the first book, but it follows a selection of different characters. But it's about a haunted house, and the first book was creepy AF. So this is the first one. I read this one ages ago. I think it follows 2 different families, but effectively there is a house called Cold Hill House where a load of people have died there over the years through quite tragic accidents, to the point where the house is now haunted by their ghosts. And in a classic Peter James way, you just don't know how the ending's going to happen, because he doesn't always end his book with a happy ending. Like, some of his books just end horrifically. So you never quite know how the ending is going to happen, which, to be honest, I actually really love. But yeah, I'm going to start this book now. And this will be my second book of the week after Heartless. So a complete change of pace. We've gone from contemporary romance to thriller/horror. So slight change of genre. I've made it to page 106 in this book. It's interesting, so they've given it a bit of a refresh by knocking down the original house and building a new build estate there instead. And yeah, so now you're following two couples who have moved into this new build estate. You've got one younger couple and one older couple whose kids have like flown the nest, and they've both moved out of Brighton into this village, which is like just outside Brighton. And they're kind of going through the same things the couple from the first book went through, where they're starting to see things that they don't know if they're there or not. The house is making weird sounds, and like things keep breaking, and like stuff keeps going wrong, and they don't really know why. So you're kind of watching these two couples go about like working all this out, but obviously in very different ways, because they're very different couples. And they're also going to hate each other, which it makes me laugh so much. Reading the interaction of this couple on this side of the street and this couple on this side of the street talk to each other and look out the window at the opposite neighbour and just like make comments, it's just so funny. So there are like some light-hearted comedic, I think, points of this book, which the first one didn't have, which I am kind of enjoying. But yeah, I mean, his writing is just so good. Like, I'm having honestly an absolute blast. I'm currently in the process of making cookies, because who doesn't want cookies on a Monday night? And I'm reading my book while I wait for the second batch in the oven to finish cooking. This book gets so creepy. So this man is in a shower, right? He's having a shower and he keeps getting hot and cold, hot and cold. He's blaming it on the plumbing of a new build, because, you know, new builds have their issues. He said it's getting colder, the temperature plunging, so cold it was hurting, swear word. He stepped back rapidly, opening his eyes, and saw a woman's face pressed against the steamed up door, the woman in the black suit. So that is like a ghost, and all the characters in this book are being haunted. He's just seen a accident in which someone died out of the window, and like he's absolutely going nuts because he doesn't know if it was like real or fake. Like, there is something so dark about Peter James's writing, especially in the series and in Perfect People. Like, they're quite similar, like eerie vibes. Like, you're basically just watching four people or two couples slowly but surely go insane, and creepy. I mean, that didn't actually sound that creepy, but based on all the other stuff that's happened, kind of creepy. Oh my god, someone he thought was alive is actually dead. He's just gone to the graveyard and found their gravestone. Peter James can write an ending. It was really, really creepy. There were moments last night when I was walking around the house that even I felt slightly uncomfortable walking around my own house after reading this book. The ending, I did not see that coming. I mean, I kind of did, but then I also really didn't. Like, it was like on one of my... I need to drink this morning. It was on one of my possibilities of what could have happened, but I did not see that happening, and it was insane. And exceptional, 5 stars, big fan. Anyway, don't know how I'm supposed to read anything after that. We have 3 other options. We've got The Housemaid, which I don't think I'm in the mood to read right now. I think if I read this, after that book it's just going to feel a bit like a disappointment. So I think it's between these two. And I would say the biggest change of pace is In at the Deep End by Kate Davies. So I think this is what I'm going to be reading today. I think this is going to be absolute vibe. I actually just picked this up from the library because it was in one of those little like display things. So our library has, as all libraries do, bookcases, all the books stacked up in a row. And then every so often there's like a little bit where the book covers are like out and then like this, kind of in a display. And they tend to be put there by the librarians. So actually I tend to find usually the better books in those sections. And it just sounded hilarious. It kind of sounds like, I don't know what it sounds like, but it sounds fun. So this is what I'm going to read next. A complete change of pace from this book, but I think that's what I need. I need just a completely different book to detach myself from what goes on in a Peter James book, to kind of give my brain a bit of a refresh before I head on to one of these. This is the longest book I have on my TBR for this week. So this is nearly 400 pages. So we're going to see how far I get with this today. It is so much later. Our train ended up getting delayed by like an hour, so then we ended up going for dinner in town because and then by the time we were going to get home it was going to be like 8:30, and then we thought that'd be way too late to eat, so we ended up getting dinner in town, and now it is 9:20 and we've just got home. So it's been a long day. I'm now in my pyjamas, as you can probably tell, just taking off my jewellery, so I don't sleep in either rings or earrings, although I do sleep in necklaces, so I don't know what that's about, but I don't sleep in rings or earrings, so taking those off. And then yeah, because I got delayed by such a long time sat on a train, I read a lot of my book, so I'm like quite a way through. I don't know where I've put my bookmark. I'm currently saving it with the receipt from my camera that I broke and had to refix. I'm currently on page 262, so like what, 2/3 of the way through the book, give or take. It's not what it's exactly what I thought it was going to be, but also not what I thought it was going to be. So it's following a woman called Julia, who she was always in relationships with men, but she hasn't been in a relationship kind of any way, shape or form for 3 years, and her mates kind of encourage her to like go out and seek male attraction, and so awkward. She goes out, she has like a one night stand, it's really like not the one. So then she's like, I can't do this anymore, I don't want to do this anymore. And then she meets a woman, was it Sam? I can't remember who the first woman it is. She meets a woman on a night out, finds her really attractive, ends up having a one night stand with her, kind of realises that she's actually attracted to women and not men. So then she, you know, has a few more interactions and meets another woman who she ends up having a relationship with. But this woman doesn't do monogamy, and so it's her like coming to terms with, one, like her entire sexuality has changed, but also seeing her come to terms with being in a kind of open relationship and like how she's dealing with that. There's a lot of like spicy writing, like it's quite intense. It's weirdly nowhere near as cringe as Elsie Silver. Like I don't find I'm reading it being like this is getting in the way of the story like it does in the book I read at the beginning of the week, Heartless. So I actually quite like the writing. I think the writing is pretty good. I do find the main character, like reading from her point of view, is quite annoying. Although I think she's like 26 or 7 or somewhere around there, but she's reading like a teenage girl. She's like hopelessly, not even in love, just like obsessed with this woman that she's seeing. But like to a point where it comes across quite childish. She's also a contractor as like a civil servant, and she's finding out that basically her job isn't secure, and so therefore she should be applying for other jobs, and she just seems to be applying for jobs she's just not qualified for. And she applied for a job in the SEO team and says she doesn't know anything about SEO, and I'm like, then what? I like the supporting characters, I like the best friend. We've just got to the very predictable point in the book, which everyone saw coming, where she's coming to terms with the fact she's really not sure if she can be in an open relationship. And she's like coming to terms with like, can I do this, can I not? They're kind of on this like, not break, but they're just like avoiding each other. Everyone saw this coming, including her therapist, who her therapist is not very nice. In fact, not very professional at all. I don't think therapists are supposed to tell you what to do, and this one does. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It's kind of like pulling it down because I'm not like obsessed. So we shall see. It's the following day. I actually filmed some of this information yesterday, so kind of depends on whether I decide to go with tired pajama Katie or fresh-faced morning Katie. We shall see. But I need to pick my book for today because I've only got just over 100 pages left of this book. I'm gonna read it probably finish it on the way back, I don't know, I'll finish it today, definitely. The last two books I had on my little TBR for this video is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black and The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And I feel like I might as well just tick off every single genre. We've done contemporary romance, we've done thriller/horror, we've done, this is kind of like a romance but also kind of just like smart, I don't know. So the only real genre we have that we haven't touched yet is fantasy. So for like therefore it has to be The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This follows Oak, who is the son/prince from the first trilogy, so the Cruel Prince trilogy. And it follows Oak when he's now 17 and he's kind of like re-entering the world. I think the first book finishes with Oak going to kind of the human realm with the main character's sister. But then it might have shifted since then. I read the book quite a while ago, so I don't really remember. But yeah, this is the next book I'm gonna read. The next book in this series, which is The Prisoner's Throne, is only currently out in hardback, I believe, because I've got the paperback on pre-order. So when that arrives, I can obviously finish off this whole little world. But yeah, this is the book I'm gonna read next. I feel like I'm some kind of like talk show host with this like table in front of me and the camera is, but it's making me chuckle. Anyway, it is a lot later. Today was the most insane day. I have just had so many meetings and it's been a late one in London, a late one home. It's just one of those days. And so I haven't actually read loads. Like I've read probably more than the average person, I'm sure, but I haven't read like as much as I would typically read. Like I finished off In at the Deep End by Kate Davies. I finished this off on the way into work. I still feel about this very similar to how I felt when we last caught up about it. I liked the writing, I liked the concept of the story, I liked the supporting characters. I found the main character so annoying. And the ending was predictable, but I also don't feel like it needed to be anything but predictable. And if it wasn't the predictable ending, I think it'd have been frustrating. So I gave this on Goodreads a 3-star. I think if the main character was less annoying, it would have been a 4, but she was driving me up the wall. And then I started reading, but I didn't get super far. I got to page 40. Holly Black, The Stolen Heir, and we've basically just got to the point where the two main characters have been introduced. You've basically a bit of a description about where they've been from the end of the last book to the beginning of this book, and that's kind of as far as they've got. They're now going to pair up. The male main character, Oak, has basically described to the female main character, who's called Bex, but she's also called Sire, I think? But I don't really know yet. He's described to her like the outline of the problem, and that's kind of as far as I've got. We're also on page 40. What an absolute day. It is now 8:30. I've read a tiny bit, but I've not read enough to get through this book, and it's today's book that I need to finish. I'm currently on page 205 of The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, which means I've read 200 pages today, but it's not enough. It's been a long day. I've been working, some plans in the evenings, actually didn't get around to reading. And now it's time to read. I've got dinner on. Because I'm filming this the week I go on holiday, I actually have a lot to wrap up, so it's been quite busy. So yeah, I haven't read much today. I'm currently on page 205. This book is about 350 pages long, so I've got 150 pages I need to read this evening. Can I do it? I don't know. I keep reading this book and then realising that I've actually not read the pages that were there. Like, if this was any other week, I would stop and I'd put the book down and I would come to it another day. But I didn't read all last night because my brain just wasn't in it. And I can't do that again for a second time. I kind of did it this week, as in this challenge, on purpose because I knew it was a busy week, and in the standard day-to-day week life, this challenge would be very achievable, and therefore I wanted to do it a week where it wouldn't be, to kind of make it more of a challenge. And yeah, I can feel my brain is not in the headspace to keep reading, but here we are. So I'm gonna try and read this book. It's very similar to the first book in terms of writing style, in terms of world, obviously. In terms of like kind of like story and what's going on, I'm not convinced by the love interest. This series, both the first trilogy and the second duology, the love story is not central to the plotline at all. Like it is just a story with a subplot of romance. And I kind of enjoyed the subplot of romance in the trilogy. I'm just not convinced by the subplot in this book. You're following two heirs to two different thrones who were friends as children. Something happened, they fell out, they lived apart for a while, and now they're coming back together to kind of try and complete a quest. And I'm enjoying the quest is great. What they're going through to get on the journey to this quest, I'm all here for. They've kissed, but it kind of didn't, it felt awkward. I don't know if it's supposed to feel awkward, but the moment felt kind of like, eh. And then I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling the two of them together. I mean, it might change in the last 150 pages, but I'm just not feeling them.
So far I've been like, they're not like telling me. I'm getting stickers.
I am in bed and I finished this book. I kind of still feel a little bit lukewarm about it. I found that about the first Holly Black trilogy. Like, I don't dislike them in any way, shape or form. And I do think I'm going to reread that trilogy at some point because I feel like they're the kind of books that you miss something in the first read. But yeah, I'm just not obsessed. There are various points in this book, and I'm tired, but there are various points in this book where I stopped paying attention. So I really struggled to follow it because of that, but actually it was a quite easy storyline overall. So yeah, I'm not obsessed. Probably wouldn't run out and tell you to go read it, but I do think these are series that I will probably reread at some point because I feel like I definitely missed stuff and I would like to like actually get that properly done. I might not start it this evening. I might start it in the morning, but the next book I'm going to read is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. The benefit of Freida McFadden's writing is it's so quick. It's like so addictive. So this book is 330 pages. Tomorrow I have a half day of work, so I work until 3. I need to have everything handed over before I clock off. We then go swimming, so we're going to go swimming in a local pool, although I might not have time because I am going to see the professional recording of Hadestown in London. So I got tickets through work, so I'm gonna go and see that. And I need to be in London, I think, for like 6 p.m. because my tickets are at the box office. So I don't think I'm actually gonna have time to go swimming when you factor in travelling into London, a buffer time for delays, etc. So I might not go swimming tomorrow, I might go swimming on Saturday. But regardless, this is the next book I'm gonna read. The laptop is closed, the weekend begins. Not even the weekend, a week off. I'm even saying weekend, like a whole 9 days. Delightful. The sun is out, the sky is blue, like seriously this is what I'm looking at. Like, oh, what a dream. It's basically spring, although it's freezing cold. What's our book? I read a bit this morning before I started work. So I got to page 88, so about a quarter of the way through-ish. We've got very, very Freida McFadden writing. Like, the warm up into the story is already spreading loads of seeds of doubt. You've got a main female character who is effectively a nanny slash live-in maid who seems to have spent some time in prison, but we don't know what for yet. And she was living in her car. She's interviewed for this job of a maid slash nanny. She's been given it and she's staying in a converted loft room in the house, which gives her like creepy vibes. She keeps feeling like she's gonna get locked in. It's a bit creepy. There's then 3 people living in this house that she's moved into, the mum, the dad and the daughter. The dad is like super successful, super rich, super fit, obviously, but quite quiet and quite to himself. You've got the daughter who just feels really spoiled, like she's like, and then you've got the wife who is so erratic. Like, she keeps making things up, she keeps pretending things have happened, she keeps blaming this main character for things that happened that the main character didn't do, but it's also told from the main character's perspective, who is also hiding the fact that she spent time in prison. So I don't know if you've also got a, what's the expression called? A narrator that you can't trust. What's that thing called? But the point is, I don't know if, because you're seeing the story and it's like in first person, whether she's purposefully leaving out some details. Like, I don't know. That's the point. That's why Freida McFadden's writing is very unpredictable. I could not tell you how it ends because I don't really know what the ending is. And I'm very excited to see where the book goes. I am heading into London this evening to watch the recording of Hadestown. So Hadestown on the West End, the original Broadway / National Theatre cast are back and they are currently doing a short run in the West End and they're recording it for later release, and I am going. Ooh, interesting evening red lighting. I've made it a decent way through the chunk of this book and I've reached, well, I've way past the first cliffhanger / sudden shift of direction. We're now in a flashback to kind of explain what went on and why one of the characters was acting in the way that character was acting. And I still feel like there's another twist coming. Like, I feel like that twist in the middle of the book is not the twist. It's a twist, but there will be a second twist. And I am very excited. I'm on page 259. So I'm gonna keep reading this on the train on the way up to London. And then the second book, because there's like, what, 50 pages left of that book now, is Finlay Donovan Rolls the Dice, which is in my March TBR. This is my 5-star prediction, which is effectively following a sort of failing author called Finlay Donovan, who writes like detective crime novels. And she goes to meet her, this is the plot of the first book, she goes to meet her editor in a coffee shop and she's describing the plot of her book and someone overhears it and thinks that she is agreeing to a job, like a assassination job. What's the word I'm thinking of? A hitman job. And so she accidentally becomes a hitman. And then in the second book, she gets caught up with a gang lord and then it kind of escalates from there. She's got kids that she's trying to support. She's got a husband who you kind of go back and forth liking him and not liking him. She's got a nanny / kind of best friend-ish who is hilarious. And honestly, it's not the best written book in the whole wide world. It really isn't, but it's just so much fun. And this is one of those books for me that's 5-star prediction by pure vibes. Like, the plot's a little bit weird. Like, the whole thing's like not perfect, but just the vibe of the book is 5-star enough on its own. It is the next day. I went to see Hadestown last night and it was exceptional. It was a filmed version. I think they're filming it over like 2 or 3 days. So there was a couple of moments where they had to restart it because clearly something didn't work or there was a noise or something, but that show is like chef's kiss. In all of my gallivanting around London yesterday, I finished The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. The ending was such a letdown, and I don't know if I'm the only person who feels this way. I was really enjoying it. I was like, oh my god, where's it gonna go? I'm so excited. And then the ending was just like, I mean, I still enjoyed reading it. There's something about Freida McFadden's writing that's just so effortless. And it's kind of half a self-contained story, and they kind of leave a slight kind of like cliffhanger to the next one. Didn't quite do it for me. And then I moved on to Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice. I'm currently on page 196. I ended up reading this in the queue to get into the theatre, and then I read it on the train on the way back. So made a decent dent in the book. I've got 100 pages left. It's just so much fun. The shit, excuse my French, these characters get themselves into. Ow, why, who, when, what? No normal group of characters gets themselves into this much trouble. It's just not normal, but it's so much fun. Thoroughly enjoying this book. It's still ridiculous as ever. I also enjoy how floppy the Finley Donovan books are. I think because they're an American publisher, like it's just... And then what book am I gonna read next? Because I need one more book to reach my 7 books in 7 days, which, while I've done it, like I'm proud of myself in some weird way. I've moved from blue into yellow. So I think the next book I'm going to read is All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is another book I picked up in my March TBR video. I think I'm probably not going to take many of my TBR books on holiday. I kind of want to get a couple read before I go. So I think this will be the next book I read. It's the 3rd book in the A Naturals series, after The Naturals, Killer Instinct, and then All In. It follows a group of teenagers who have like a naturally strong ability to do certain things. So Cassie, the main character, can like read, is that what she can do? Read people very well. And she can like get into their head and like almost tell you everything about them. You've got one that's based like a human lie detector, one that like remembers stats like no one you've ever met in your entire life. And it's not like a superpower, it's just they've had kind of rough childhoods which have like lent them to picking up these skills. Yeah, the first book is kind of introducing you to the concept. It's actually quite a short book. The second one, they're like accidentally investigating a live case. I mean, they're doing the first one a bit, but the second one, they're like accidentally investigating a real case because they're supposed to look into cold cases. And then I think at the end of the second one, and this isn't a huge spoiler because you can kind of see it coming, I think at the end of the second one, they get sign off officially to work on live cases, and I think this is in the first book after that like decision. So yeah, this is the next book. It is nearly 400 pages, but it's YA, so it's very, very quick and easy to read. So yeah, I think this, I'm going to finish this off today. There's about 100 pages left, and then get on to this. I am home. I've spent most of the evening doing, well, evening, it's actually afternoon. I think it's about 20 past 5. I've spent most of the afternoon doing my book journal. So when we came back from the house we went to go visit, I ended up finishing off my February spread. So putting in the books, the pages, the rating, the TBR, filling in the little pie chart, and then setting up my, I don't know why I'm saying this so slowly, setting up my little March spread, so putting my little TBR things in, popped my first read from March in, and I was making sure that all the other pages are filled in and up to date, so like my February favourite read, etc. So I finished Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice by L. Cosimano. This to me actually is a 4.5. I've put it as a 5-star in Goodreads because you can't put half stars in. I still love this series. There is something about this character and just her general vibe that I really love. And I'm enjoying how the last book, or at least I think it's the last book, but how that book has been set up for, and I can't wait to continue the series. I just love it. And then I've started All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'm on page 75. We've got a bit of a setup of the case. We have the setup of the victims who are still piling up. We have a little bit of an idea of an MO and other bits, and the kids are all together. The investigation has just started, so I'm excited to see where this goes. Yeah, I'm probably going to read that later today. And then while I was out in the supermarket, this book has been following me recently because it's just come out in paperback, which means it's absolutely everywhere, and it's Funny Story by Emily Henry. It was in the supermarket, I think it was like a £5 or like £6 or £5.50 or something. So I picked it up because why not? I read this book so fast. I actually didn't really even get a chance to like talk you through it. I'm obsessed. Like, the ending of this book, I obviously can't tell you the ending of this book because it's going to ruin, one, this book, but two, the entire series. I now need to read Bad Blood, which is the 4th book in this series and finishes off the whole thing so freaking fast. So this is following the Naturals. There's a serial killer case that they're investigating that like they're following some sequences, and it's so freaking smart. And then the ending is exceptional. Like, I think this is my favourite book of the week. This book was so good. But that concludes my 7 books in 7 days. I returned one of them to the library, so I only have 6 of them here. But to do a very, very quick summary, twizzle them over, we start off the week with Heartless by L.C. Silver. 4 stars. I loved the child in this series. I loved the child in this book. I found the actual relationship not hugely believable, but it was cute. So 4 stars. We then read The Secret of Cold Hill, which is the 2nd book in this duology. This writing is exceptional. I found the first book a little bit repetitive, but I really enjoyed the shift in the 2nd book and I devoured it. We then read In at the Deep End, which I actually don't have anymore because I returned it to the library. I gave that 3 stars. I enjoyed the writing. I thought the writing was very good. I just found all the characters very annoying. So I gave that one a 3 stars. We then got The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I think when I read this, I probably wasn't in the best frame of mind. Like, I kept finding myself getting very easily distracted. So maybe if I read this again at some point, my rating might go up, but I gave this a 4 stars. We then read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. If the ending was a bit smarter, this would have got a 5 star, but I found the ending a little bit flat. So I gave it a 4 stars because I loved it until that point, and then the ending was a bit like, Finley Donovan rolls the dice, which to me is like a vibe 5 star. Like, it's so much fun. And then finishing off with my favourite book, which obviously I just talked you through, All In, which is the 3rd book in the Natural series, and I cannot wait to read the last book. I actually am way too excited. So we actually did it. We read 7 books in 7 days. Today is Sunday. It's 7 o'clock and I finished, wrapped up in a tidy little bow. I have my blue theme that then went into my yellow theme, and I managed to do them all. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!